Yeah,
that would be really sad.
I mean, I'd still rather be like living than not living.
Really, like
yeah, and I don't think.
I think you just people... you hate death.
Yeah,
so
well, I'm against not being alive. Yeah,
yeah.
Put me down. Tom Hayworth is against not living.
But I feel like they have like a point. Like I probably wouldn't not have kids for that point, just to prove a point that the world is like a bit crazy. But like I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty big thing to commit to and do. So yeah, props to them.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But like
props to the commitment. Yeah.
You're still like
I
disagree.
Through. Like I'm not sure I would do it, but
okay. So anyway, back to housing prices.
Yeah.
Now that we like, obviously the research shows that it's actually harder to save up for a deposit than it ever has been.
Yeah, and the explanation also really makes sense in terms of why Australia is so expensive, because almost like such a very high proportion of Australia's population live in cities.
Yeah.
And cities are affected the most by this change because that's where all the dense population is.
We used to have a lot more people in country towns, actually.
Did we?
Yeah. Oh, but people have been moving to the cities. Like, every younger generation has been, like, more people from the country towns have been moving.
Yeah, it's always interested me how we have a big, like, country Australia culture, but, like, that's a very low percentage of, like, our actual population.
Yeah, well, that's been driven by, like, stereotypes and stuff, I guess.
Yeah. And, like, movies.
Yeah. But anyway, how can we fix this whole crisis and make housing more affordable? I mean, I don't think I can personally do anything.
No, you are the hero who shows the solution.
I will save the housing crisis.
I believe in you.
So, basically, the government has been trying to do this for a long time and make housing more affordable for first home buyers. Like, they've always been... What?
Good on them.
Yeah, good on them. They've always been introducing, like, first homeowner grants and all of this. So since 1964, that was, like, one of the first home savings grants, which is when they offered $500 to married and engaged couples under the age of 36. So poor people that got, like, married after that. Well, I guess that was pretty low population. The people would get married after 36 back then. But, yeah. $500 does not seem like enough.
Oh, yeah, but I think it was a lot more in 1964.
Yeah, definitely.
I think my grandparents bought a house roughly around that time for like $50,000.
Yeah, well, this house that we're recording the podcast in was 180,000, I think.
When?
2000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It would be like
there's been a lot of renovations since then.
Yeah.
But yeah. It has improved. This area's like gone up in like price a lot.
This house was a good investment.
Yeah. Good on you, parents. So anyway, and then in 1973 they introduced the Home Deposit Assistance Grant, which was an income tax deduction for first home buyers. And then in 1983, there was the First Home Owners Assistance Scheme. I feel like every time they did this, they just tried to make up a new thing to call it, when it could have just been called First Home Owners Grant, like, every single time.
Yeah, they should have just, like, numbered them, like...
And it's funny because they probably would have had a whole committee deciding what to call it. But anyway, so that was $7,000, and that was abolished in 1990. Then in 2000, there was another $7,000 grant, and that was reintroduced. Then in 2008, there was the First Homeowners Boost Scheme, which was an additional $7,000, so you could totally claim $14,000. And then in 2010, it became more state-specific, and that's where we are now. So some states have First Homeowners grants, and, like, it depends. So I think in SA, you can claim up to $15,000 for a first homeowner's grant, but you have to buy a house that's new, or you have to build your own. So, and that's a more expensive option anyway. So it's like that kind of defeats the purpose a little bit.
And also you can't live like, well, you can't. You probably have to live kind of far out from the city if they still have space to build a house.
Yeah, it's pretty far out. They're not good suburbs. Or you have to knock a house
down and then build one.
They do have suburbs that are like, I mean, like, it's not too far out, but it's like, they're kind of dodgy suburbs. No offense to those suburbs that you can build houses in, but they're like, the crime rate, which we're going to talk about later on not this episode, but we're going to definitely talk about crime rates and how they influence housing prices. But anyway, those areas are much higher, so hence why you can the housing land packages exist in those areas.
So I can't imagine why people don't want to live where there's lots of crime.
Okay,
crazy.
Anyway, so yeah, it's interesting because these grants suggest that first home buying has always been kind of difficult. Like, it's always attracted some attention from the government. So there was another ABC article, which wasn't really about individuals. It was like 5 ways we could make buying a house more doable. So they suggested 5 ways that we could lower housing prices, which I thought was interesting. One of the first ways was to take mansions into account. So, like, when family homes are currently exempt from the pension assets test in Australia. So you can still get the pension or whatever, and you don't have to take your family home into account as like an asset.
Right.
Which they could stop doing, but that might force people to sell their family homes, which would be kind of sad.
So if you're like,
for them,
if you're like on the pension but you're actually really rich because you've got this huge house, you're gonna have to sell it.
Yeah, which would be really sad. Like, I don't know.
At the same time, though,
you're like efficiency.
I mean, if you have like a $1.5 million home,
then you should be allowed to keep that.
Well, you should, except like the government shouldn't have to give you a pension.
Yeah, okay, that's true. Yeah, you should probably have some other savings that aren't tied up in your home. I feel like that's the best way, so then you wouldn't have to sell your home, because it would be so sad to sell your home, like, as a normal person. But yeah, you probably shouldn't be getting the pension either. I agree. Also, we could make negative gearing not a thing, which has been done in the past. But the good thing about negative gearing is it keeps the cost of rent down, which I feel like is pretty important. So I'm not sure that I'd actually want that to happen.
Actually buying a house isn't realistic for a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. And they need to rent somewhere, so it would be better for, so it's a win-win negative gearing. It's not all about like investors and stuff, which I feel like it's often made out to be. Like, people don't often talk about the benefits of negative gearing for renters. Yeah. But that's important. We could also get rid of stamp duty and introduce a land tax instead, which I'm totally for, because I hate stamp duty.
I'm with that.
I think maybe like later on in the podcast, maybe next episode, we're going to talk about why stamp duty exists. But I just don't like stamp duty. I don't even know. Yeah.
And the weird thing about stamp duty is it only happens like, that's the one you only pay when you like buy a home, right? Yeah. Yeah. That doesn't make any sense.
It's just a large sum of money that you pay, and the percentage depends on...
It just incentivizes people not to move house.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure that's why it's there.
Why do we not want people to move house, though?
We'll get into that in the next episode. But I think that's one of the reasons, is that they don't want people just buying up houses. That incentivizes people to keep paying their mortgages and not just move, I guess. Okay. But it would be weird to just move. I don't know. Look, who knows what the government is doing. But,
half this episode, by the way, is to be talked about at a later date.
Yeah. So they could also tax, like, mega estates. So, like, the old grannies with their, like, mansions. This is, when they pass away, it's not, like, factored in, I don't think. Isn't so, like, no, I don't think they tax, like...
It is in America, because there's this huge thing... Yeah, all the, like, Fox News people are all like, oh, it's a death tax, but they only, like,
we don't have it, I don't think.
They only tax houses of more than $5 million, and it's
maybe we do. No, I don't think we do.
So it's, like, it's not actually, it doesn't affect most people, and,
Yeah, they were just blowing it out of proportion.
And, it's not a death tax, it's a... You are rich, we're gonna tax that house. Like,
so that I don't think we do that here. We don't tax inheritances, do we?
Don't we?
This article suggested that we don't.
Okay.
This is an ABC article. I don't know, maybe I need to
really
fact check that.
Research this stuff.
Oh,
You're probably right. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I assumed it was correct because the ABC, but like, probably shouldn't have done that.
Oh, yeah, no, we probably don't. But yeah, no, because...
I'll research it, I'll fact check it, and then if it's different, I can just put it on the blog post that corresponds to this podcast. Mm-hmm. So I'll just, like, update you about that. But anyway, that was one of the points. And the last point was, which you hate, which the article suggested we should build more houses.
Which would be lovely, but it
doesn't help anything.
Because the reason house prices are so bad is because
land
prices and not because of like construction prices or anything. And building more houses will just make there'll be a lot of cheap houses really far away that no one will want.
Yeah.
And then all the houses in the closer to the center of the cities will still be expensive. So
yes, that probably won't. I mean, they already are kind of building more houses. Like, there's like a lot of... It's a big evolution of those, like, little villages being built and kind of semi-outside of the cities. Like, housing developments and everything. So, yeah, they kind of are trying to do that, but it's not really helping anything.
We do need to build more houses, I guess.
Yeah, in general, rising population.
It won't decrease...
We're not all going to be like the scientists that don't have kids.
It won't really decrease the median house price or whatever because,
I'll try and find an article about the scientists that said they're not going to have kids, and I'll link that on the blog post as well.
Yeah,
just as an interest thing. It is interesting, like why they're doing it. I don't necessarily feel like, but it's good because I feel like at least the interview that I watched of them, they weren't like saying that we should all do that. They were just saying personally for them. Yeah. They wanted to make the decision because they couldn't live with themselves. Because they're like climate scientists.
Yeah.
So like, they know...
So was the argument, I don't want my kids to have to deal with the problems? Or was their argument, I don't want to have kids because that will contribute to overpopulation? Which will
I think it was both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
I know which one you liked better.
Yep, definitely.
Overpopulation.
The overpopulation argument.
Okay, so what can we see happening in the future with housing prices?
Yeah, so until we have further innovations in transport, self-driving cars, maybe.
Yeah, which you're all about.
I am. I love self-driving cars. Can't wait to
most people
not have
hate
to drive.
self-driving cars.
That's because they don't understand how, great it will be.
We went to a comedy show at the Fringe, at the Adelaide Fringe, and the guy, what did he say? He was like, oh, who's all about self-driving cars?
And I gave him a woot.
Was literally just you, and everyone else was so silent, and I heard some people, muttering stuff, saying, oh, I don't like that,
Yeah, well, those people are... They're just...
I don't like it either. It's fine. Okay, I wouldn't be mad about it, but the reason why I don't like it is I actually enjoy driving. So I feel like most people are worried about the robots taking over or something, but I'm worried about not enjoying driving anymore.
Well, that's a more realistic worry. Fortunately...
Wait, mine is?
Yeah.
Not enjoying driving.
Yeah. But fortunately, you'll still, be able to drive in some parts of,
Yeah, well, I don't want to be restricted.
Oh, well... Yeah, okay, so anyway, so there's two ways self-driving cars can go.
Oh, yeah, say your theories.
Okay, so there's, the first bit, which will probably happen, where just, they already have some self-driving cars and vehicles and stuff, but they'll have more, and they'll be much more common, and they'll be on the road, and they'll just integrate into our roads and stuff. And then the other thing that can happen...
Which you like better.
I really like this one because, so what will happen is that we will have areas in cities where human drivers are banned and it's all self-driving cars, and then the cars can all talk to each other and work out what the most efficient thing for everyone to do is, and they can
This is kind of cool.
They can drive at really, really high speeds of 140 k's per hour and stuff. And they can do it really efficiently because they can be a peloton where in cycling where they're all behind each other. They can just, what's it called, wind?
Oh, braking.
Yeah. They can break wind for each